Have you ever
I just
felt
can't
that
do
love
this
just wasn't
anymore.
meant for
It's
you?
okay. We're here for
That's
you. It
exactly
hurts
where
so
Olivia
much.
found herself that rainy Tuesday evening, tears streaming down her face as she confessed her deepest insecurity to a room full of strangers. Little did she know, someone was listening who would change everything. If you've ever felt invisible or unlovable, this story might just restore your faith in second chances. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more real-life stories that remind us why we should never give up on love. The community center's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Olivia Morgan tucked a strand of her chestnut hair behind her ear. At 34, she'd become a regular at these weekly support meetings for singles. Not because they helped, they rarely did, but because it was better than another night alone in her apartment with only her rescue cat, Hemingway, for company. "I'm beginning to think there's something fundamentally wrong with me," Olivia said, her voice catching. "I have a good job, my own place, friends who love me. But no matter what I do, no one wants to date me. Not seriously, anyway." She looked down at her hands, twisting the silver ring on her middle finger. "I'm always good enough to be someone's friend, just never their first choice." From the back of the circle, Daniel Carson watched her, struck by the raw honesty in her words. A single dad to 9-year-old Lily, he'd been dragged to the meeting by his well-meaning sister who insisted 3 years of solitude following his divorce was enough. He hadn't planned to speak, hadn't expected to connect with anyone. But something about Olivia's vulnerability resonated with him. After the meeting, Daniel found himself lingering by the refreshment table, watching as Olivia gathered her things. His heart pounded as he approached her, nearly spilling his coffee in the process. "I just wanted to say I really connected with what you shared tonight," he said, immediately feeling foolish. Olivia looked up, surprised. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither said a word. "Thanks," she finally replied, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. "Sometimes I wonder if I should just stop trying altogether." "I felt the same way after my divorce," Daniel admitted. "Like maybe I'd had my one shot at happiness and blew it." Their conversation flowed easily after that, and before they knew it, they were the last two people in the community center. They exchanged numbers, but Olivia had learned not to expect much from these interactions. Men were often friendly, even flirtatious, but it rarely led anywhere. When Daniel texted the next day asking if she'd like to grab coffee, Olivia was pleasantly surprised. When he showed up with a worn paperback of her favorite author tucked under his arm, she was intrigued. And when he listened, really listened, to her talk about her work as a children's librarian, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, visible. But Olivia had built walls around her heart for good reason. 3 months into their cautious friendship, she still kept Daniel at arm's length, convinced he would eventually lose interest like everyone else. The turning point came unexpectedly. Daniel had invited her to Lily's school play, and Olivia had spent hours deliberating whether accepting meant stepping too far into his life. In the end, curiosity won, and she found herself sitting beside him in a cramped elementary school auditorium. Lily, playing a sunflower in the school's spring production, beamed when she spotted her father in the audience. Her smile grew even wider when she noticed Olivia beside him. After the performance, the little girl rushed up to them, still wearing her yellow costume. "You came," she exclaimed, looking directly at Olivia. "Dad said you might, but I wasn't sure." "I wouldn't have missed it," Olivia replied, genuinely touched by the child's excitement. "You were the best sunflower on that stage." "Dad talks about you all the time," Lily continued, ignoring her father's embarrassed expression. "He says you tell the best stories at the library. Could you tell me one sometime?" Before Olivia could answer, Daniel jumped in. "Hey Lil, let's not bombard Olivia with requests right away." "It's okay," Olivia said, surprised by the warmth spreading through her chest. "I'd love to." That night changed something for Olivia. As she watched Daniel help his daughter out of her costume, patiently untangling the wire stems from her hair, she glimpsed a version of love she'd never considered, one built on kindness, patience, and showing up. But old fears die hard. 2 weeks later, when Daniel invited her to dinner at his home, just the three of us, he'd said, Olivia panicked. The intimacy of being in his space, of stepping further into his and Lily's world, terrified her. She made up an excuse about work and declined, then spent the evening alone, convincing herself she'd done the right thing. Daniel didn't push, but she felt the shift in their interactions. His texts became less frequent, his invitations more hesitant. Olivia told herself this was inevitable. Wasn't this how it always ended? One rainy Saturday, Olivia was shelving books in the children's section of the library when she heard a familiar voice. Lily stood there, rain jacket dripping onto the carpet, clutching a drawing. "Dad says you're busy a lot," she said without preamble. "But I made this for you anyway." The drawing showed 3 figures holding hands, a tall man, a little girl, and a woman with what appeared to be a book in her free hand. Across the top, in careful letters, Lily had written, "Our story." "Your dad brought you here?" Olivia asked, looking around for Daniel. Lily nodded. "He's pretending to look at books, but he's really just nervous. He likes you a lot, you know. Even when you're busy." Olivia felt tears prick at her eyes. In that moment, standing in the children's section with a damp drawing in her hands, she realized how close she'd come to sabotaging something precious out of fear. She found Daniel in the fiction section, pretending to be absorbed in a novel he was holding upside down. When he saw her, he quickly put the book back, his expression a mixture of hope and apprehension. "I'm not actually busy tonight," Olivia said quietly. "Or tomorrow. Or any night, really, if the invitation is still open." Daniel's smile lit up his entire face. "The invitation is always open." Their first official date wasn't at a fancy restaurant or a movie theater. Instead, they made pizza from scratch in Daniel's kitchen while Lily supervised, declaring herself the official cheese tester. They played board games until Lily fell asleep on the couch, and then they talked for hours, about everything and nothing. "I've been scared," Olivia admitted as Daniel walked her to her car at the end of the night. "I've spent so long believing no one would choose me that I never learned how to let someone in when they actually did." "I understand fear," Daniel said, taking her hand. "After my marriage ended, I was convinced I'd never find someone who would accept both me and Lily as a package deal. But then I met you, and for the first time, I wanted to try again." 6 months later, Olivia moved the weekly support group meeting to the top of her gratitude list. Not because she still attended, she didn't need to anymore, but because it had led her to Daniel and Lily, who were teaching her daily that love doesn't always look like you expect it to. On their 1-year anniversary, Daniel took her back to the community center where they'd first met. The room was empty now, the chairs stacked against the wall, but he led her to the exact spot where she had sat that night. "You said something here that I've never forgotten," he told her, his voice soft. "You said no one wanted to date you. I've spent the last year trying to prove how wrong you were." He knelt down, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside wasn't just a ring, but a tiny handwritten note in Lily's distinctive penmanship: "Say yes so we can be a real family." Through tears, Olivia nodded, unable to form words. As Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger, she realized that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin exactly when we've given up on them. Sometimes, a single dad and his precocious daughter can heal a heart that believed it would always be alone. 3 years after that rainy Tuesday evening, Olivia sits in their backyard, watching as Daniel teaches Lily and their newly adopted son, Max, how to build a birdhouse. Her engagement ring has been joined by a wedding band, and the family they've created fills her with a joy she once thought impossible. Love finds us in the strangest places, often when we least expect it. For Olivia, it found her in a circle of strangers, in the gentle persistence of a man who saw past her defenses, and in the open heart of a little girl who made room for her without hesitation. If you're still waiting for your own love story to unfold, remember Olivia's journey. Remember that the words, "No one wants to date me," are never the end of the story, they might just be the beginning. Like this video if you've ever felt the way Olivia did, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us why we should never give up on love, even when it seems impossibly out of reach.